President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has arrived in the capital city of Guinea-Bissau to participate in the 63rd Ordinary Session of the Authority of Head of State and Government of ECOWAS. It is the president's first international engagement within the African continent since assuming office on May 29, 2023. The summit, set to open today, Sunday, July 9th, will see regional leaders discuss topics such as security challenges faced by member countries, the financial situation of ECOWAS, and the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Upon arrival, the president took the opportunity to visit the Nigerian troops serving as part of the ECOWAS Stabilization Force. He expressed his appreciation for their dedication and service to both Nigeria and their host country. President Tinubu emphasized Nigeria's commitment to supporting peace and democracy, not just in West Africa, but around the world. Tinubu is scheduled to hold bilateral meetings and engage in other diplomatic activities while in Guinea-Bissau. Steve, Shaitam, I believe it was last week, yes, we saw President Mbalo come to Nigeria on a private visit, and Dele Alake had mentioned the fact that, President Mbalo had praised the president's, policy reforms, and it was laudable at the time. And also it was quite instructive that I saw this press statement by Dele Alake that the president went to visit the troops, and he's about the first president to visit the troops in the ECOWAS region in Guinea-Bissau at that point. We must applaud them, really. We'll see what will happen. I believe it's starting today, and I guess there'll be more to come.
That's correct. It's a good one for the president. Yeah. He's playing the role, is, moving with the tide, as it were. Like you said, yes, President Sissoko Mbalo, was here last week. First visit by president to our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And you recall when we discussed it last week, yes, when Mr. Dele Alake said that it was a private meeting, yes, they didn't need to disclose anything, but he had kind words to say about the president. It would have been better if he had said that, part of what the Guinea-Bissau president came to do was to also, enjoin President Tinubu to be at today's meeting, which will be a kind of, a one-on-one, one-to-one invitation. Here we are. The president is there. I'm sure he must have extracted some promise from President Tinubu. And I think that this is not bad at all.
Yes.
He was in France. A lot of people expected that we'll hear from our president. We'll see what he has to say about all these financial issues, environment, climate change and everything. But here in Guinea-Bissau, the story is different. It's to talk Africa. It's to talk regional integration, is to talk about the fact that we are a giant, not only in West Africa, but in the entire continent. And I think that that's part of what President Tinubu will be saying there. He has started well by first visiting, the troops, the stabilization force there.
It is the Brigadier General Germa that expressed that appreciation to the president.
Yeah.
And when you just think about everything that he's doing with the new service chiefs, this definitely adds to that body language that when he's talking about synergy, he actually means it. It will be his first international engagement of the president as the president within the African continent, yeah, since he assumed office. And of course, they're going to be touching on regional issues, including the report of the 50th Ordinary Session of the Mediation and Security Council. Of course, looking at security challenges faced by member countries of ECOWAS, and they're going to be also focusing on the Council of Ministers, as well as the financial situation of the body and the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So definitely this trip, expecting a lot. This is a good way to start, of course, letting us know what's going on. But let's the communication not stop now. When these meetings happen and when he has all his side bilateral meetings on the side, obviously trying to push the future of Nigeria, let us hear about it. We don't want it to be hush-hush. We want to know about these strides that our president is, of course, taking. But I'm loving the optics. He's definitely running with it, and I appreciate the fact that he actually did stop and talk to the troops. I think that's very, very encouraging.
Playing the role of the commander-in-chief.
Commander-in-chief. Very encouraging, really. All right then. From his base in Finland, Simon Ekpa has continued to destabilize the peace in his native southeast of Nigeria with incessant order by his faction of proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, a secessionist group forcing the people to sit at home. Ekpa and his men have in the last 1 month unleashed untold terror in form of different coordinated attacks on citizens for daring to disobey the order or the sit-at-home order.
Has continued to bleed heavily from the stranglehold of sit-at-home order by outlawed secessionist group Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, IPOB. The latest threats have come not from the mainstream IPOB, but from a breakaway faction under the guide of Simon Ekpa, an indigene of Ebonyi State who is based in Finland. Last week, Ekpa issued a notice for 1 week of sit-at-home in protest of what he calls the continued detention of the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. In the notice, Ekpa declared Monday a total lockdown, Tuesday as no movement day, Wednesday for sit-at-home, Thursday for opening of markets, Friday as don't come outside day, Saturday as stay indoors day. Those who have dared to disobey the order have paid dearly, and in most cases, their lives. Ekpa and his gang of outlaws have turned Ihiala in Anambra State and neighboring Osu and Oru local government areas in Imo State into a killing field. 2 weeks ago, a middle-aged lumberman, Emeka Demezwe, lost his life after suspected IPOB members forced him to fell a tree to block a road at Uli in Ihiala local government area. Last month, Ekpa's men attacked members of Anambra vigilante group at Ogenabo, Okija in Ihiala local government area. The vigilantes were attacked for managing to maintain peace in the area. While it is difficult to determine the exact number of casualties from various IPOB attacks, between 5,000 and 10,000 persons have fallen victims, with many of them security agents, especially policemen. IPOB activities have crippled businesses, inflicting untold hardship on citizens and reducing government revenue. Statements of assurances from state governors and even security forces have done little to make citizens defy the sit-at-home by IPOB. Not even the establishment of regional security outfit, Ebubeagu, has helped to douse tension in the southeast, which is gradually becoming the most dangerous place in Nigeria.
Well, all right, Steve Shato, I took this story, I believe, on Thursday about the menace in the southeast with the sit-at-home order. I must state that we do know that IPOB has disassociated itself from this whole charade, I would call it, because we know that it is a faction of Biafra agitators, not even IPOB, because this person called Simon Ekpa, who is in Finland, is instigating the sit-at-home. He has told the people in the southeast to sit at home for a whole week. I believe he started on Monday again for a whole week, and he was in a video saying that, he's been, sitting at home and all of that. And I must commend the security forces, because I believe I saw a video yesterday or a story yesterday that those people in Ebonyi State there, that video right there, those people wearing those red capes were apprehended by the security forces. I must commend them. They moved in and they apprehended those people from that group. But it is important to note that the stakeholders in Anambra State, in Ebonyi State, as well as Imo State have moved in to try to curb this whole sit-at-home menace, which is so important, and I'm happy that we're able to bring this story to the limelight, Steve.
Well, the sad thing about this is that the fellow Simeon Ekpa is not even 40 yet. He's 38. He trained as a lawyer, a former athlete, and if you like, a Finnish citizen who ought to know better. But it's obvious that this fellow has decided to be an enemy of the Nigerian state. He doesn't identify himself with Nigeria in any way, but then the geographical area that you identify yourself with, which is Biafra, the southeastern part of Nigeria. That is the same area that you have chosen to destabilize, to have people killed, to have businesses destroyed, I don't see how that can make you a liberator or an agitator for a good cause, given the fact that at the time, he even won an award, an ambassador for peace, in the past. What type of peace can we associate with a man who has destroyed virtually, the economy of the 5 southeastern states of Nigeria? I think that this is a challenge to the new government. This new government will have to decide how it wants to approach the issue of a breakaway faction of IPOB or Biafra agitators, as they choose to call themselves. We were discussing yesterday, Shaitan, about whether you want to negotiate with bandits or terrorists, or you want to move in with full force. Again, this is what the federal government will have to decide. But it will have to decide that in sync with the generality of the thoughts within that region, within Southeast. What do people think? What do people want? How do they even perceive this fellow in Finland? Absolutely. To start with? And I don't think that it will be too difficult or so impossible that international diplomacy cannot be used to get...
This is my question.
Absolutely.
Why have they not moved in? I believe there was a couple of months ago, there was an arrest on Tamon Ekpa, and he was released. But we are seeing that he's committing some sort of cyber crime by instigating this type of terror.
Absolutely.
Terror on...
Absolutely.
His people, really.
That's basically a clear case of terrorism.
This is what it is.
Absolutely appalling. And I think for me, it's the fact that he's instigating all of this while not being on ground. He's letting, the people from these 5 different states, of course, it's very shocking. And, I was looking at the challenge that Mr. Ubad put out and said that if you are really for this cause, then I want you to come back to Nigeria and feel the pain. Now, if you are making people stay at home every Monday, now these are places that are known for their, economic, prosperity and how trading, much, trading, commerce. Yeah. So not only is it an insecurity issue, it's also, an issue that directly affects the livelihood and. We're currently in a situation where we're looking at by the end of this year, 7.5 million people going into poverty, and this is one of the things that would make that process faster. I was looking at what Mr. Oba had said, and he had also mentioned that a string of security agents have come together to say that they were going to, of course, provide the necessary equipment and necessary security forces that they need to be able to combat the people behind this that are putting fear, the foot soldiers that are putting fear into the minds of people. There was actually a point where they had tried to kind of use the law to get people to come out to say, if you do not work, if you don't come out to your shops on a Monday, then you would be, you will be fined. But if on the back end you haven't fixed the problem of insecurity, then of course people are going to be afraid. We're going to just leave it here and continue to see how this story in itself develops.
I just want to add one more note. It is important that Peter Mba has put that ban in Enugu State, and like you said, people are not even obeying it because of fear. But also, Lotana Ojukwu, the third son of the great leader, Ojukwu, was on this show, I believe, on Friday, and he did say, when you speak to a lot of Igbo people, they are not for Biafra. They don't believe in Biafra. So I don't understand where this tiny little faction have this amount of power to destabilize the Southeast in this manner. And I believe that it is important that the security forces continue in their strive to destabilize these terrorists. Well, The committee is set up by the Anambra State Governor, Professor Charles Soludo, to investigate the circumstances surrounding the alleged forgery of the UTME JAMB result by Mmesoma Joy, AGK, has indicted the suspect of manipulating her examination score result in an 8-page report submitted after its findings. The committee said it discovered that the suspect changed her Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME result after she openly confessed to doing so. Mmesoma, who had been the center of controversy, had said she scored a total of 362 in the examination, contrary to the real score sent to her by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB. She also admitted to having given a manipulated result by herself, unaided, using the same phone number. Well, I mean, I hope that this committee has put the whole conversation to rest at this point. I mean, I want to really highlight the fact that we had Kamsi Chukwu on the show, the actual winner, and I thought that it was important that she came here and she got her flowers, and I think that is where we should really, you know, put our mind on at this point. I mean, Mmesoma has, you know, come out to say that she committed the crime. I know that she's not a minor because she's 19, but she just, she just became an adult. So I think maybe we may cut her some slack here. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that.
I'd just like to quickly, touch on the fact that I'm happy that we actually were able to trust in our national organizations, for them to conduct an investigation, and we saw the results, and then the result of that investigation is actually in line with the crime that was committed. And then for the fact that I mean, she was supposed to win, I think, 3 million naira from Innocent Motors. They've come out to also say that they are they're obviously withdrawing that back, and also the former Minister of Education as well has come out to also say that she fully stands behind the investigation reports that had been put out by the JAMB body. But there is really there's no point to overflog the horse. She took advantage of the system, but it was able to get to the bottom of it. And I think that's what counts.
Well, I mean, I don't know about trusting in the organizational structure that extracted, that came up, with the investigation. I don't think any investigation was conducted. I think what we have seen is that they basically extracted something out of the young girl, to say that, and she said, they may be right. That may be the position.
JAMB did conduct an investigation, and they did find an app like that app.
The investigation by JAMB, without a doubt.
Okay.
And my point really is to say that what was the whole points of this Anambra, all these professors on the committee, in Anambra State? I mean, what investigation did they conduct? They just basically, called the girl and the principal aside and said, these are the implications. Why don't you come out clean? Which is what she has done. I think that it didn't need to get to that point, because following the story right from the beginning, it was obvious, to see that she was parading a fake document. Anybody who has a kid or who has been following how, JAMB operate, that is not, first and foremost, that is not the correct document, statement of results to show. And secondly, we know that you can actually tamper, using an app with that kind of a thing. But having said that, I think that we should be careful so that we don't totally cancel that young girl. When people say, okay, she's not a minor, that's fine. Even if she's 19, the situation in our country today, particularly even among certain leaders, many who have risen to positions on account of fake, credentials, forgery and things like that. It's a bad seed that we've sown, in the consciences and souls of people. And when we see things like that, which is the only area that I think I agree with the Anambra committee, is to say that she will need to be cancelled.
Yes, it's part of the recommendation.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Even though that I will not go forward and ask JAMB to rescind his decision. If they choose to, that won't be too bad, but then there must always be consequences, for this kind of a thing. What we need to be sure of is that, did she confess under duress, or is she still protecting certain people who might have, worked in CAU? Absolutely.
That's what the
During the
investigation is
committee,
to have unearthed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Again.
I give kudos to JAMB, but then JAMB should not go ahead with the argument that there are no glitches or that nobody can break it. I know of a few cases of people, this same last JAMB, students who were meant to take the exam, but who got to their centers, and because of faults from technical faults from the end of JAMB, they were not able to sit for that JAMB. They reach out, and I'm not talking about families that are uninformed, families that knew what they were doing, and they reach out to JAMB that this is what has happened. Our words cannot take the election. The examination. And JAMB says, sadly, there's really nothing we can do. They will have to wait till next year. Yes. That is not good enough. Yes. While we applaud them on Mmesoma's case, there are other issues that they will need to attend to.
Yes, we look forward to the counseling for Mmesoma, and we congratulate Kamsi Chukwu for
she deserves the accolade, and
I
hope that she will get all the yes.
Not needs to take note of that and actually give her.
There's still a gentleman.
And give her the scholarship. Absolutely, I think that they will do that.
Absolutely.
Well, all right.